So I heard this story, right? There was some thieves. Some thieves. If you a thief, that's not what you want to be. You want to change. But shout out to all the ex-thieves who God has redeemed and you ain't stealing no more. And I can put my phone down next to you and it ain't going nowhere. But anyway, so check this out. There was some thieves broke into this expensive store. And it was weird because instead of stealing what was in the store, they did something very strange. What strange did they do, you might ask? Well, I'm glad you asked that. So they jumped in, they got into the store, they broke in the store overnight, and they begun to do something very strange. And what they begun to do was, they begun to change all the price tags. So there was a $6,000 diamond ring there, and the price tag said $6,000. And what they did was they found another ring in the same store that was an imitation diamond ring that was only about $99.95. And so what they did was they lifted the price tag from that ring and exchanged it with the expensive ring and begun to do that throughout the entire store. Everything that was expensive, they begun to manipulate and switch the price tags. You know, they took a painting on the wall, a cheap fake one, and they took an original and they switched tags and they left the store. Strange. They didn't steal anything. All they did was broke in the store and switch price tags. Now what happened was the next morning, store opened. The people had no idea people broke in. They had no idea the price tags were switched. They don't know. They knew nothing. They began to resume business as usual. And a lot of people came in and begun to purchase stuff. But now, guess what? They were purchasing a whole bunch of cheap stuff for a whole lot of money. The price tag was very high on things that were worthless. They were now spending a whole lot of value on things that were worthless. Now, the point of my story is this. We live in a culture today that is the same exact way. We've switched price tags. Today, we put a whole lot of value on things that are absolutely worthless. Right? Things that will fade away. Things that are not going to last. But for example, right? Here's a great example. Our world looks at fame and fortune and cars and clothes and houses and all these stuff that we are trained to chase after as what we have to have in life to make our life count. And so we place so much value in them to the point where we work so tirelessly, work ourselves to death, work ourselves. Hopefully we can make it to retirement if stress don't kill us, so that we could obtain all these things that we think are so valuable, and we don't put the price tag where real value is. We don't work as hard to make sure that our spirituality is where it needs to be as much as we work on getting these things that we think will fulfill us. I want you to know that we have switched price tags. And we need to switch them back. The things that are really worth and are valuable, that's where you need to invest. If you walked into the store, the same store that I just told the story about, and you knew you were about to pay $6,000 for a ring that was fake, you would not invest your money there. Well, guess what? A lot of you are investing your time, your efforts, your energy, and you're giving a lot more to things that will fade away. And the things that really matter and the things that really will last forever and will build and keep you, you are not investing as much time in there. Eventually, when it's all said and done, the true rewarder, when he comes and rewards, you will realize that I really don't have, I didn't make a good investment. So I want you to think about that. And here's what the Word of God says in the book of Matthew chapter 16, verse 19. Jesus says it like this. He says it another way. He says, do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal. So in other words, earth presents a way for you to live. The world presents a chase. And so this is not by no means saying that you don't need money to survive and you shouldn't have a job. Absolutely you do. Absolutely you should go out and work. The Bible is clear on that. But when all you do is now chase money, and all you do is now chase the things of the world, you're in a dangerous place. I was preaching in church yesterday, and I was preaching on Moses, and one of the things that I said about Moses, when they left Egypt, God gave him a command. He said, go to all the Egyptians and tell them that you want gold, silver, and clothing. And so they gathered a lot of gold. But here's the thing about it, right? Gold wasn't the problem. Silver wasn't the problem. But when they got into the wilderness, they took the same gold and they began to worship it. Now the problem becomes when you begin to worship what God is giving you to use for some other purpose, right? And they began to build a calf and worship the gold. And so a lot of us, yes, we have houses, we have cars, and all these things have purposes. But you know what? We don't chase it for the purpose. We chase it because we find value in it. It's like this. I tell a story like this. If all of us went to a remote area in the world where they're still living maybe tribal, and they have never really been exposed to what we call civilization, right? And so we go there and they're walking barefoot. And someone says, hey, you know what? There's this thing called sneakers that we know about. It's real cool. I've made one for you. And they took it out. Just a plain a brown sneaker. Nothing on it, no designs, nothing. They put it on, they begun to walk, and they say, wow, this is so much more comfortable than walking on the regular ground. This feels great on my feet. It's protecting my feet from being hurt, being cut up. And so everybody in the community says, we want one of those shoes. And so everybody's got shoes. They all look the same, and they all have a purpose to protect your feet. Now, one day somebody comes and says, you know what, I'm going to draw a design on mine. So he draws a design, and his look different. Now the next guy looks at his and says, his got a nice design. So I'm going to draw a design on mine too that's better than his. And so he draws a check sign on it, quote unquote, check sign on the sneaker, Nike. So he draws a check sign, he draws this one, and then before you know it, the whole community begins to highlight their sneakers and make their sneakers better. And they forgot the purpose of the sneakers to protect your foot. And now all of them are trying to outdo each other because they found their value in the shoe. And that's what we do. We find our value in the cars, in the clothes, in the house, in the paper chase. We want to have the best, is the best, better than everybody else. Best by what we quote unquote is best. And then when it comes to our spirituality, things like knowing God's will for your life, things like praying, there's hardly time given to prayer. There's hardly time given to Bible reading. There's hardly time given. You don't even go to church. We don't give time to go into church. We don't give time to go into fellowshipping with brethren. We don't give time to Bible study. These things get second place, and what we've done is switch price tags. We've given more of our energies to things that will burn up and be destroyed. And Jesus said, it will be destroyed. But then in Matthew 6:21, he says, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The real problem is this. The reason why we can't give a lot of time to prayer and reading Bible study is a heart issue, because where your heart is, where you find value, you're going to put your heart. And if you find your value in the things of God and in who He says you are, you'll put a lot of time into that. And so I want to encourage you. Listen to me out there, man. Don't let nobody ever determine your price tag. God alone determines what your value and your worth is. And don't you ever try to find value in things that are created, that are man-made. Your value is wrapped up in who God has made you to be. And if you want to know more about who He is, you got to spend the time. And just as you work and you invest time in work, you've got to invest that time in the things of God. While you're on your job this week, ask God for an opportunity to preach and pray and teach and tell someone about Him. Because only what is done for Him will last. And that's a sobering reminder, this week, we obviously see the tragedy in France, and we see all this other stuff that's going on in the world. Well, when stuff like that hit, nothing seems like it really matters, does it? Because you know how fragile life becomes. All the education, we've got foreign students foreign exchange students studying over there. I think we lost one of them who was an American. I'm not too sure, but you see all this stuff and all the education and all the glitz and glamour, beautiful city. None of it mattered. All that mattered was life. Life is so fragile, and you can never get back a second of your past. It's gone, and once it's gone, that's it. And every second is an investment. Where you spend your time, where you spend your talent, it's an investment, man. Just wanted to share that with y'all today, man. I hope you're blessed by that. Tweet it out, replay it, let somebody know. It's your boy Rich.